guys, for this month's bonus lesson, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about travel journaling, or even just doing little sketches in your sketch pad, having a journal that you can take with you, even if you're local, if you're at home, or it's just a really great experience. So when I travel, I take a lot of photos. And the photos are great. I love looking back through them when I get home, but it's not quite the same as going through your journal and looking at what you did while you were on site. The experience is enriched. You are immersed into the setting. You hear the birds chirping. You see the colors in the light dancing around. You might smell different types of foliage, different trees, different plants, flowers. And looking back at that journal, for me, it takes me right back. And one thing I want to say is you don't even have to paint or draw what's right in front of you. You can just bring, pictures that you have, maybe something that you've been wanting to work on, but just being outdoors and painting or sketching in a setting like that is just really enriches the creative experience. So in this video, I'm just going to give you a few ideas of the type of supplies that you might take with you. Try to keep it simple. You don't need to bring everything that you own or a whole bag of things. It can be as simple as a piece of paper and a pencil. So on my retreat, in addition to painting and oils, when we go out on excursions, I encourage everybody to bring their watercolor journals. And these are just some examples of the supplies that I bring with me. And you can adjust this however you want to. Color pencils are fun because you can kind of sketch out what you want. And then you can either use a little container of water and take your brush and just kind of smudge the watercolor pencil around. You can spritz it. This is just a little tiny spritzer that I have that is great for traveling. And I really highly recommend these archival Micron pens. So these won't smudge whenever you're painting. I like to actually sketch with these before I start with my watercolors. And the reason I do it first and sketch it without using pencil is because it really forces me to kind of pay attention to what it is that I'm drawing. And if I make a mistake, honestly, it's really no big deal. Most of the time I can turn it into something. It's just a line. It's really no big deal. But it's kind of fun for me to have those little outlines and then to just play with the watercolor paints once I have that sketched out. So this is just an example of how I start. So you can see here, it's just done with the Micron pen, and I think that one was maybe a size 05. And I just kind of created this little border and sketched the scene. So I do the same thing for each of these. And this is much more simple. You can see it's just a few cone flowers, and these were in the garden at the lavender fields in France where we went. So the set of watercolors that I have is Winsor & Newton. It holds 12 colors. It actually originally came with a white, and I took the white out because I really wanted a magenta, and I don't really use the white. The white really is more for if you're wanting to make those watercolors opaque, and then it kind of turns into gouache, which is totally fine too. But this one actually even comes with a little paintbrush. I really only bring a couple of brushes. I also have little gel pens that are fun, especially the white, because sometimes if I lose my whites in the watercolor, I can go back with the gel pen and put little white marks in it. Another thing I like to bring with me is these glittery or kind of sparkly watercolors. And this particular set is Paul Rubens. So this is what the case looks like. Cute little pink case. And you've got a place for mixing, and then you've got all of these nice sparkly colors. Now they are really translucent and they don't really show up on just the white paper itself. And so a lot of times what I'll do is use my regular watercolors first, and then after that dries, I'll come back with some of the sparkly colors and just add little accents to it. And I don't know if you can see, but if I kind of twirl that a little bit, it might kind of catch the light and you can see a little bit of sparkle in there. Just do a Google search. You can check out some of the watercolor like Cheap Joe's or Jerry's Artorama, Blick, and look for watercolor journals. And then this particular one is nice and small. It's great for traveling. It's got a little elastic that holds the book together, and then I can either put a painting on one page, or I can open it up and do an entire area. This one was done in a little teeny tiny village in Italy in the Tuscan area called Barga. And I was just sitting up on top of the wall looking down over the village, capturing that. And I can remember being there. One of my students was hanging out there with me that day, and a little dog came up. So cute. I always love hanging out with the dogs. And then the last little thing that I like to bring is this composition finder, because it will adjust and you can kind of close in your view. Because I don't know if you're like me, but if you just go sit out and you look around while you're outside and you're trying to decide what to paint, it can be a little bit overwhelming because you're seeing everything at once. So this is a nice little thing that you can use to kind of, I just kind of hold it out, close one eye, and then I find an area, and this kind of crops it out to what I need. Another thing that you could do similar to this is just bring your iPad and you can take a photo. Also, it's a good idea to take a picture anyway because it kind of freezes the light, so you're not chasing light and seeing those shadow change constantly like they do when you're painting out in plein air. But you know, try to keep it simple and have just a little set of things ready to go. I keep my little watercolor pencils in this little pouch, and it zips. It's just like a little makeup bag. Here's one that's a little bit bigger, and all of my watercolors, my brushes, my water spritzer and container will all fit in here. You know, bring you some paper towels and just have it ready to go so that it's easy to grab. And even if it's super hot outside, like it can get in Texas, this summer we've had crazy temperatures. But just go, you know, turn your air conditioner on in your car, sit in your car, find a little place and do a little sketch. So one other thing I wanted to show you and give you a couple of ideas on things that you can do in your journals. First of all, if you're traveling, you might like to collect things like little souvenir tickets for the train, or maybe for a museum that you went to. You can incorporate those types of things into your journal as well. So that's one idea. This little set here, it is little gel, what do they call them? It's King Art is the company, and it's a mixed media gel stick. And it's actually water soluble. So I I use it on top of my watercolors, and it just goes on thicker, kind of like oils. And then you can just take water and kind of spread it around, and it just adds a little bit more depth. These happen to be kind of sparkly too. Somebody gave me those, they know me well. But those are a lot of fun. So just some ideas for you for your sketch pad. And something else that I would also suggest adding to it, just to kind of help preserve the memories of the trip that you went on, is to think about what you might want to say. You don't have to write anything, but maybe adding, definitely the date, and just jot down a little something about your experience. Like, for example, when I was recently in France, I was sitting on a wall overlooking the tops of these houses, and there was a castle in the background. And as I was painting, first of all, I met a Dutch couple that came up and talked to me for a while. And since I'd lived in Holland when I was a kid, we had, a little bit to talk about. And so looking at that, it just kind of brings me back to that memory. They were a really sweet couple, and I really enjoy talking to people whenever, especially when I'm traveling and just meeting other travelers. And so I just wrote a little bit about that. You could put quotes, verses, just single words, things that kind of evoke that memory of when you were in that spot creating. So, a lot of times if you're an oil painter or an acrylic painter, it's not always easy to grab all your supplies and take them to a site to paint, because it's a lot of materials that you have to deal with. But it's really easy to grab a sketchbook journal, a watercolor journal, a couple little art materials, and take those with you. So these are just a few examples that I wanted to show you of just a few little things that I've done over the years. This was at a little tiny town called Saint-Jean-de-Cole in France, where I was sitting and looking at a bridge. I didn't quite get it finished, but was able to at least capture this scene with a sketch. And there were lots of dogs again playing, and they were playing in the water and just chasing each other, and it was just a really great atmosphere and a great memory. So I would really encourage you just to get out there. Don't be afraid that you're going to ruin your journal. You're going to be really, really happy that you've put something in there that you can look back on. It doesn't have to be picture perfect. It doesn't have to be something that you might hang. It doesn't even have to be anything that anybody, that you would show anybody. It's for your own personal experience, and it's just a really great way to practice as well. Practice those that eye-hand coordination, develop those skills. You can even just doodle in there and, scribble out. You could do like timed drawings where you just scribble out an object and set a timer for a minute or 5 minutes. It's just going to give you really great practice. And later, when you get that journal out and look back through it and see all those memories, you're going to be really glad that you did.